The greatest secret to making money that I've ever found is quite simple. It's actually one phrase that changed my entire life forever. And it's so simple once you hear it that you smack yourself in the face for not thinking of it earlier. So I want to share this with you because it has been the most powerful thing that has helped me make millions. This is an interesting story. There was this guy who was driving around LA and he had a really beat up old car. And every time he would drive past this certain billboard, it would say, "If you can dream it, you can achieve it." And he kept driving by it, and he kept seeing it, and he kept seeing it, and he kept dreaming about all the things he wanted to achieve. He wanted a new car, he wanted a new house, he wanted more money, he wanted a better life. But then he just became frustrated because his life wasn't changing. He wasn't getting any closer to these dreams. So one day he finally says, "Screw it, I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket." He goes out and buys a lottery ticket, and he dreams that he wins $100 million. Goes home that night, he falls asleep. He wakes up the next morning, checks the lottery ticket, and doesn't win. Gets pissed off, throws the lottery ticket away, and goes back to work. Drives past the same billboard that says if you can dream it, you can achieve it. And now he's angry at the billboard. Thinks that's a bunch of BS. If you can dream it, you can achieve it. How come I'm still driving this piece of crap car? How come I don't have any money? How come I don't have any of the things I want? And that's when something amazing happens. A light bulb goes off in his head and he realizes something. He realizes that in order to get what he wants, he needs to do what he's never done before. He needs to take action. Can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. He needs to take massive action, and he needs to believe in himself. And so, that's exactly what he does. He starts taking action towards his goals. He starts taking risks. He starts doing things that he's never done before, and guess what happens? His life starts to change. He begins to achieve the things he wants. And that's all because he realized something very simple. Dreams don't work unless you do. There's this idea out there that if you just think about something long enough, or if you just imagine it, or if you just dream about it, it'll eventually happen. But that's not true. That's not how the world works. If you just sit around and you just think about the things you want, they're never going to happen. You need to take action. You need to do things that you've never done before. You need to take risks. You need to push yourself beyond your comfort zone. Now, I know this might sound like common sense, but let me tell you, almost everybody out there, the vast majority of people are not doing this. They're not taking action. They're not doing things that they've never done before. They're not pushing themselves. And that's why they're not achieving their dreams. They think that just by thinking about it, or just by dreaming about it, or just by wishing for it, it's going to happen. But that's not how the world works. So here's the one phrase that changed my entire life forever. Think like this. If you can repeat this phrase over and over again in your mind, over and over again, eventually it'll sink in, and it'll become part of your subconscious programming. Once it becomes part of your subconscious programming, it will literally change your entire life forever. Are you ready for it? Here it is. Think like this. Every time you think about something you want, ask yourself, what would someone who already has what I want do in this situation? Now, here's the cool thing about this. When you start asking yourself this question, it immediately puts you into action mode. It immediately gets you thinking about what you need to do in order to achieve your goal. Because when you think about it, when you start thinking like someone who already has what you want, you start thinking about the steps that they took to get there. You start thinking about the actions that they took to get there. You start thinking about the mindset that they had to have in order to get there. And this is powerful stuff. Let me give you an example. Let's say you want to be a millionaire. Instead of sitting around and thinking about how much money you want, instead of sitting around and dreaming about all the things you'd buy with the money, you need to start thinking like someone who's already a millionaire. What would a millionaire do in this situation? A millionaire would invest in assets that bring in a steady stream of income. A millionaire would live below their means, which a millionaire would save and invest consistently over time. So if you want to be a millionaire, you need to start thinking like a millionaire. You need to start investing in assets that bring in a steady stream of income. You need to start living below your means. You need to start saving and investing consistently over time. Here's another example. Let's say you want to lose weight. Instead of sitting around and thinking about all the food you want to eat, instead of sitting around and dreaming about all the desserts you'd like to have, you need to start thinking like someone who's already lost weight and is in shape. What would that person do in this situation? Well, they would eat healthy foods. They would exercise regularly. They would drink plenty of water. So if you want to lose weight, you need to start thinking like someone who's already lost weight. You need to start eating healthy foods. You need to start exercising regularly. You need to start drinking plenty of water. It's the same thing with anything else in life. If you want to be successful in business, start thinking like a successful business owner. If you want to have great relationships, start thinking like someone who has great relationships. If you want to be financially independent, start thinking like someone who's already financially independent. See? The problem with most people is that they think the way a loser thinks, think the way a quitter thinks. They think the way a failure thinks. And this is why they stay poor. This is why they stay fat. This is why they stay unsuccessful. They need to start thinking like a winner. They need to start thinking like a champion. They need to start thinking like a billionaire. Now, here's the thing. Can't think the way a winner thinks if you're surrounded by losers. Can't think the way a champion thinks if you're surrounded by quitters. Can't think the way a billionaire thinks if you're surrounded by people who are broke. This is why it's so important to surround yourself with people who inspire you, who motivate you, who push you to be better. This is why it's so important to get rid of the negative people in your life, the people who bring you down, the people who make you feel bad about yourself. You need to surround yourself with winners, with champions, with billionaires. You need to think the way they think. And the best way to do this is to start thinking like them. Start thinking, what would someone who already has what I want do in this situation? When you start thinking like this, you start taking action. You start doing things that you've never done before. You start taking risks. You start pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone, and guess what happens? Your life starts to change. You begin to achieve the things you want. So I want you to repeat this phrase over and over again until it becomes part of your subconscious programming. Think like this. Every time you think about something you want, ask yourself, what would someone who already has what I want do in this situation? Once you start doing this, I promise you, your life will never be the same again. And remember, you can't think the way a winner thinks if you're surrounded by losers. You need to surround yourself with winners. You need to think the way they think. If you want to accelerate your success in life, so if you're ready to take your success to the next level, click the link below and get access today. I'll see you on the inside.